as for certain things I admire in the Indians, I think they are just so, there's just so many happy Indians, and they're very touchy. They'll hold on to you. They'll put your arm around you, and they'll talk real close, real up in your face, and they're just so interested in you and in everything. They love life. Another thing I admire is they have great food. They have great sense that they know exactly. They make fun of Americans. They say, "Oh, you have all this money and you're eating bread." It's like, we don't. We have all this. We eat well, and you do not. And I would kind of agree with them for the most part. So my first impression of India, it was hot. It was the plane ride was a long plane ride. I think it's 30 something hours, and I think a few of us, almost got hit by motorcycles or something crossing the street. We were so confused about how to do anything, and luckily cars in India are going about 20 miles an hour max. But I remember the food was awesome. We all loved the food right away. From day one to the last day, I could not stop looking outside of the window. I think if we were driving in a car, which was very rare, or if we're on a bus, which was very common, I could not stop looking outside and just watching what was going on outside. Like, it was just, there's always something interesting going on the street. That first day was a real shock to me, just how much is going on in India, and it's just everything all the time. The heat, it's up in your face. It's the noises, the smells, the views. It's just up in your face, and kind of I guess you could say a shock. I don't know how else to call it. India is really actually a very diverse place, and it's unique from other countries in that in India they have their own movie industry that's huge, a number of movie industries, the music. So things actually in India, there are definitely, you see Coca-Cola products, you see McDonald's there, and you see American things. But I think in India, they have been able to retain their culture and their country's identity better than most, because of the media is Indian media, and they're watching Indian movies and listening to Indian music more so than maybe other countries would. For that reason, many people have said that it's hard to find a country that's more different than America than India is, just because they are America. We think in American terms, and we maybe can be seen as ethnocentric, I guess. But in India, it's a little bit of the same way, because they're not as exposed to other cultures as outside of India as maybe other countries are. And it's very diverse. Every new area you go to, it's a new culture in a sense, because they have a new language. The people can even look a little bit different. The script can be different. The script that they're using to write can be different. And their food changes from state to state more so than a food would change. Food changes from state to state in America. And so for that reason, it's never boring. And people like to say that all food in India is spicy. I would say that most of it is if you're in the South, but there's definitely non-spicy food as well. The best food, in my opinion, is in the South. The North has good. So they split like this. In the South, there are more Christian people, and so because there's more Christian people, there's more meat that they eat. And in the North, it's more Hindu, and I don't have the facts to back that up, but this is what they say. It's more Hindu, and so because of that, there's more vegetarian, and so there's more veg. That's what they call it, veg meals that they eat. And so in the South, I feel like you could probably get a little bit better meat, because that's what they're more practiced with, and they're better at the chicken masala and chicken tikka masala. And then in the North, you might find better paneer or whatever else you might find that's vegetarian. Also in the South, it's a lot of rice, and in the North, so the rice is like their base, and in the North they have a bread base, which is like naan and dosas and things like that. And so that's what they eat their curries with in the South. They eat it with rice, and in the North they eat it with the breads. Everything is different in India. They do everything differently, it seems like. Transportation is always interesting. Trains are packed. Buses are extremely packed. Just getting on a bus is different than you would in America. Sometimes it doesn't even stop at the bus stop. It kind of slowly rolls by, and you're expected to run up next to it and jump in. Like, we're not really going to stop for you guys. And then there's people getting out at the same time. So people are jumping out and jumping in at the same time. And the bus has never stopped. It's just gone to like, 2 or 3 or 4 miles an hour. And sometimes we would just run into the street and we see our bus that we needed, and we would run into the street. I remember running past motorcycles and things going, 10 miles an hour, I don't know, in the traffic as the bus is going, and we jump into the bus. I mean, even things simple as getting on a bus is going to be different in India, but that's what makes it fun. I think India, the people will be surprised the contrast India has is so. You will see the nicest building maybe in the entire world is so clean and sleek looking, and then right next to that will be a tent village. People, some of the richest people in the world live in India, and people walking into these buildings with nice business suits, driving nice cars, and then at the same time, you're just surrounded by there's a lot of beggars in India. There's a lot of beggars. You'll never go anywhere without running into people who are asking for money. But so the contrast can really get you. It's never boring. In Hyderabad especially, the buses never really stop. Well, they do. There's times when they definitely stop, but sometimes they just don't. And a lot of times it's when they're really, really full, and you'll be waiting at a bus station with a lot of other people, and a bus will roll through. It's your number bus, and it's packed already. People are hanging off at the side of the bus, not the side. They're not just clinging onto the side, but more like in the 2 areas where there's doors. You'll see it's so crowded inside that people are outside the bus and holding on to the inside of the door frame. And so they'll kind of roll through, and you got to figure out this is your bus, and it's the last chance you're going to get a bus for the next 20 minutes maybe, or 15, I don't know. And so you kind of run next to it as it's rolling, and you're eyeing it and seeing where can you stick your hand in and where can you put your foot. And if you ever get on there, you put your hand on a bar, and you're usually smashed up against somebody, and they're smashed up. You're all smashed into this bus door, and you got one toe in the door, and you just lift up the other foot, and the bus goes away, and that's called footboarding. Footboarding can be dangerous, so you don't want to do it if you don't have to. So that's a common thing. The bus is usually tipped and going along at an angle because it's just so full in there and hot. Sometimes the buses will stop, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's because people didn't pay on the bus, and the person's trying to go around trying to get everyone to pay, and I don't know, it feels like 2,000 people on a bus, and of course it's not really that amount. It feels so many people, and it's stuck, and there's no air moving through it, and it's hot, and it is hard. That doesn't happen too often anymore, but another common way of getting around is with rickshaws, auto rickshaws. We just call them autos. And there's pretty much like a scooter that has some attachments to it. It's like a scooter engine. The person's not using a steering wheel in there. It's just scooter handlebars or motorcycle handlebars. But it's almost like, I guess, it's like a 3-wheeler it's usually yellow and maybe black. And there's like a bench behind the guy's seat in the front. And so you get 2 people in there, 3 people. But, you could see 6 people going through and hanging outside the auto. Depending on the city, you pay in different amounts for different, maybe they have what's called a meter. All of them will have a meter. Some of them just don't go by the meter. They don't turn it on, which the meter calculates how far you're going and how much you should pay. Most of the time what happens though is auto will roll up to you, especially if you're American. A few of them will roll up to you and start just yelling prices, like, where do you need to go? And you tell them, and then they'll offer a price. Okay, 100 rupees, which is usually 4 or 5 times what an Indian would pay. 100 rupees, 200 rupees. And then we would say, oh, no, we live here, brother. We know the price. It's 15 rupees or 20 rupees or whatever it is. So you kind of haggle over travel prices. And then there's a few places where you do ride bikes, and bike riding can be fun. So you're riding your bike and then you're trying to go past the guy with the cart being pulled by by a bull or an ox, and then there's a bus on your right side, and you got to watch out and be careful. But as far as I know, everyone's pretty safe on bikes, and it's really fun. Good way to get exercise as always. Trains are also common. Planes. There's a lot of airports actually. There's so many people in India that are in leprosy, have leprosy, or that have suffered from some kind of physical malady or are exceedingly poor. You'll see it everywhere you go. You see it at the bus station. You'll see, someone without legs begging. It's something that you never get used to completely. But you have to be strong about if you're going to India, because it can be overwhelming, and you'll find that people. I remember times when I've walked through and just got mobbed by beggars, just surrounded. My shirt would be covered in handprints, and had my pen stolen out of my pocket, which was not that bad at all. And that was very rare. Maybe one time that happened, but still, the fact that it happened at all should indicate that there's a lot of people that are very needy in India, and it can be kind of eye-opening and difficult. And I think by the end, you learn to deal with it. Although I will say, I've bought a few things of food and had them pretty much taken out of my hand, and I willingly, okay, you can have that. You can have my ice cream cone. A little kid took my ice cream cone probably every day for a month at the same bus station. He's like, I shouldn't be upset about this, but I really wanted that ice cream cone today. It's so hot. Oh, okay, you're back. There you go. Here's my ice cream. The script for Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, and Hindi are all different, and they all come from Sanskrit, I believe. And I could be wrong about Tamil. Tamil is a little bit, it might have a different origin, but it all comes from an ancient language called Sanskrit, which is like the Greek or the Latin of Indian languages, where that's the original. And that's where the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita, I don't know if I said that right, but the scripture that is all written in that. And so that's what the Brahmin priests, when you'll hear chanting, there's always chanting going on near the temple, and sometimes it's over a loudspeaker, and you'll hear it, and usually that's in Sanskrit. That's what I was told. Not that I know Sanskrit, but Tamil is, in all the languages, they have strong consonants, and I think that knowing that helps you to be able to understand their accents in English, because to know that they really pronunciate their consonants, then it helps you understand why they say things a certain way, and how you should say something a certain way if someone doesn't understand English. For instance, if we would want to talk to a taxi driver, tell him to go left, we would say lefta. To him, it just sounds like we're saying left, like really well. But to us, it sounds like we're saying two different words, left, right, left, right, and that helped him know, oh, right, left. Anyway, so as for phrases though, like Tamil, they always ask you if you've eaten your dinner, and it's like just a polite way of kind of greeting you in Tamil, or if you finished your dinner, I guess is more better translation, but that was Saptingla, S-A-P, Tingla, anyway. That was, have you eaten yet? Have you finished eating? Namaste, Namaskaram, those are kind of the greetings, and they are also like the goodbyes. I think they're about the same. I don't know if I know Namaste is Hindi, and Namaskaram is used in the South more, but I don't know which Namaskaram, if it goes with Kannada or Telugu or Tamil. As for like scolding phrases, they always say, it's just very playful. It's like, I'm going to hit you with my flip-flop, is basically what they're saying. But they call flip-flops chappals. For a scolding phrase, you would say, chappal, tisti, chestara, something like that. It's been years. And that means, I'm going to hit you with my chappal. And man, you could get anybody to laugh if you told them that, because it's just like a kind of a playful, silly banter that they have. And my Indian companions would ask me a question. I would say, Naku telidu, which means I don't know. And then they would always come back and say, Nik telida, like, what do you know? Like, because I would say that so often. Naku telidu, I don't know. That's Telugu. So those are the real phrases that I learned. English is very common in India. I think they consider it one of their national languages. And most people in India speak 3 or 4 languages, actually, English being one of them. I would say most people of a certain class that live in the cities. If you go into the villages, you'll find very little English speakers, but there's a fairly good amount of people that speak English. The British influence is strong in India, and so they'll say things like lorry for a truck. They say proper a lot. The emphasis is on different syllables for them. For instance, for a long time, I had no idea what people were saying when they said devil up. We need to devil up. And I didn't know. I was like, we need to devil up? That seems not like a good idea. And then eventually I figured out it's develop. Devil up. Anyway, so there's things like that. Proper is very common. Devil up. I heard that all the time. One thing they say a lot is just means, like M-E-A-N-S, means. And that means, what does it mean? Or it's just, everyone says it. Hand motions are actually very helpful. This means you're asking a question, and sometimes you could ask a question, and if you don't do that, no one will. They'll just stare at you and nod and not realize that you're asking them a question, even though it was clearly a question. So you do this. They have a different way of explaining how much something is just with their hands. And this is important to know because you speak to a lot of people that don't know good English well. So this means a little bit, just showing a little bit of your finger. This means a lot. It shows your full arm. This means you have to go to the bathroom, which you see a lot. Someone will leave the room and they'll signify where they're going. There's a few other, obviously the head bobble is a part of the language. It's a communication tool, and it's saying like I understand, or okay, or I agree with you, and you head bobble a lot. Even as you talk, it's almost like a way that are we all on the same page right now? And I didn't understand most of the things that were going on for the first week. Indian accent, a lot of little kids will come to you, how are you? How are you? Like, what is your name would be, you hear that all the time, little kids, what is your name? What is your name? Another phrase, hello brother, how are you? You finished your dinner yet? Things like that. Hey, what you are thinking, junk fellow? I'm going to take off one of my chapels. I'll beat you on the head with that one. It's definitely, you are so dumb. Things like that. Are you crap fellow? Are you junk fellow? What you are thinking? Really, it was just like we're all playing around. So I thought I'd say that because I'm proud of my Indian accent, or at least I used to be. And that was a pretty good depiction of what they say, their phrases and their accent, I thought. So